course. Welcome to Gattsy on Goosebumps, the show in which I review every single one of R.L. Stone's Goosebumps books from the original series. Joining me today for a very special episode is Chris Brain. Chris, how are you?
Very good, Gattsy. Thank you so much for having me on Gattsy Reviews Goosebumps.
Gattsy on Goosebumps.
Gattsy on Goosebumps. Yeah. Well, today we're discussing Let's Get Invisible, which I believe is the sixth
absolutely
Goosebumps book
right.
from the original series in 1993, March 1993.
See? Did his research.
I did.
That's why I got you instead of Rogerson.
Yep, so there we go. Hopefully everyone's getting a view of that. Let's get invisible.
That's quite the motto.
But I would say, I don't know, given the whole invisibility magic mirror angle that we would go into, you could be a bit more creative with the cover art, I think. I think there was maybe more potential there to create a more interesting cover.
So that is obviously an error, but back in 1993 they made heaps of errors. Number one, electing President Clinton.
Tagline on the front is, now you see him, now you don't.
They've used that tagline on me many times. Frequently, the police will say that. So at the top it says, disappearances can be deadly.
As we all know.
On Max's birthday, he finds a sort of magic mirror in the attic. It can make him become invisible. So Max and his friends start playing Now You See Me, Now You Don't. Until Max realizes that he's losing control, staying invisible a little too long, having a harder and harder time coming back. I've had that problem. Getting invisible is turned into a very dangerous game. The next time Max gets invisible, will it be forever?
So Max does find a magic mirror in the attic with his friends, and the principle is you pull this chain to the light at the top, and anyone standing in front of the mirror becomes invisible. I believe it's his friend Zach who tries to make it a competition to see who can stay invisible the longest before pulling the chain and becoming visible again. And which I think is a very dangerous attitude to have.
Did you pick up any particular analogy with this practice? Any particular metaphor? Well, for what they're doing?
I mean, I hadn't, but I suppose it could be about masturbation.
For me, it just seems that they were almost taking a drug of sorts. That they were constantly, and they were starting to become, as the book continued, gradually becoming more and more addicted to this drug and feeling almost like they needed to constantly take it. And I don't know if he was intending to go for that, but that's what came off as.
And that's a very interesting theory, because as we find out, if you stay invisible for long enough, you and your reflection actually change places.
Yeah, well...
Possibly prolonged drug use can turn you into somebody that's not quite yourself.
If you're a great person
like Max,
and you are taking drugs or getting invisible, then you are putting at risk your personality and all the things you hold dear.
And also your visibility. So, as I was explaining, if you stay invisible for too long, you and your reflection in the mirror swap places, and I guess a sort of slightly more evil version of you takes place.
Lefty, who is Max's 10-year-old brother, accidentally smashes the window, and that prevents Max from being reinserted into that invisibility, and it breaks the window, breaks the light, and
causes the other people to come
and
back.
all seems to sort of be resolved, it would have seemed.
It would seem, Chris, and we are left with a classic Goosebumps cliffhanger. And what would that cliffhanger be?
Well, we find out that indeed Lefty, his 10-year-old brother, had already changed reflections in one of his occasions as being invisible, and we find out that his reflection is now in the modern world, and there's no way he can ever get back.
And he discovers this because Lefty is throwing a softball with his right hand. I always like when the scary elements don't come from your traditional aspects like vampires or monsters or things like that, and it really is sort of a more original idea of having it based on a mirror, an everyday object.
I agree. It certainly is unique and as a plotline, but it was a bit repetitive. I found it just this constant pulling at the chain to turn on the light. It seemed to be just repetitive after a while, and I did in fairness get tired of that same repetitiveness of playing this game.
I know what you mean, and he likes to end chapters with a bit of a cliffhanger. But how many cliffhangers do we get in this book where they pull the chain to make him return to visibility, and they're waiting a long time and they're not really sure he's going to come back?
Exactly.
I think it works one time. I think he uses that again and again.
He uses that many times, and he also uses the repetitive nature of someone goes missing or something like that, and they start calling out their name, and then apparently they're behind something.
Yeah, they're not actually.
I think that happens at least twice.
Yeah, maybe 3 times. I did really enjoy the description of, and sort of the concept of this mirror world that Max actually gets sucked into. Sort of inside the mirror where he comes face to face with his evil reflection, and he sees the faces of the friends who have already been consumed by the mirror. I found it a really interesting concept.
I appreciated that about the book, and I appreciate the fact that R.L. Stein had not gone for just, I suppose, the scariness being just the fact that you're turned invisible, that he'd actually done something a bit more unique, and he'd gone that step further and said that the reflection is now apparently evil, and that's the reason you're allowed to go invisible, so that the reflection can possibly get out.
Thoughts on the book, Chris? Did you enjoy it? Would you recommend it?
If you are a fan of Goosebumps books and you enjoy reading them, then obviously I would advise that you read that one.
I concur. I think this is a very well written one. Besides the repetitive nature of it, really picks up towards the end. There are some really original concepts, and a very spooky concept. The idea of being removed from yourself and trading with your reflection. Also, staying invisible forever. It's just a very scary concept in itself. That concludes our review of Goosebumps number 6, Let's Get Invisible. Please join me next week in which I review Goosebumps number 7, Night of the Living Dummy. Would you like to finish with my signature catchphrase, Chris?
Yes, I would, Alex. Well, thank you so much for having me.
Oh, absolutely.
I really do appreciate you having me as a special guest. I will go with the catchphrase, ready, set, go. We scare because we care.
Disney, please.